this week. Last week, the live stream gave us a couple of bumps in the road, and I'll have you know I've improved as much as I could on my end of things. I have upgraded the internet here at home to have a faster upload speed, and I've done what I could do with the camera, but unfortunately, with a lot of this stuff, you can't really do much testing without being live, which creates a whole problem of sorts on how do you correct something until you actually have to do the thing that you're having problems with. Hello, Anna B. Hola, Señor Brickey. Nice to see you today. How are you doing? So I'm just going to go right here with this today. I had a lot of work to do with my regular job, which is my podcast, Adventures in Design, and all the interviews that I love doing with people. I had a pretty crazy week thus far this week doing that stuff, getting ready for returning to putting out new episodes next week. So I thought, since it was a quiet Disney week, let's do a AMA, a Ask Me Anything, or shall I say, Ask Mark Anything. And we can talk about whatever you want, because really the only things that broke this week in the Disney world, Disneyland world, Disney World, that's a whole other vibe. But the only thing that really came out this week, as we all know, is that we have seen the mentioned that the Rainforest Cafe is going to get transformed over into a Star Wars store. I've been hitting the ground really running on some theories about how that could manifest and what that could really mean or indicate for the rest of downtown Disney as we're going into, the post-COVID stage, hopefully eventually later on this year with Disneyland. And then the other thing that broke this week is they gave us a little bit of a teaser on what we should expect with Web Slingers, trying to get a little bit of good news out after last week's horrible news about the annual pass program. So there just wasn't an insane amount going to talk about. And one of the things I found interesting was the Spider-Man drop. There wasn't enough there for me to sink my teeth into. So let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and take my first question that I see up here on the board. And when you hear that screenshot sound, that means that I have taken one over here. And let me see. Give me just a second. I'm kind of figuring this out on the fly here, if this will work, what I want to do to keep it fun and interactive, because I don't like short answers. I like to give long, thorough answers so you know exactly what it is that I'm trying to say. Okay, so it looks like our first question here comes from Drew. Says, have you been to any other Disney theme parks worldwide? And if so, what's your favorite? So I have been blessed enough to make it out to Disneyland Paris, which I have to say, Disneyland Paris was absolutely beautiful. But then again, so was Paris. So it's interesting to be ambitious enough to build something in that city that has the deepest of architectural roots, sort of, the world's most beautiful city, to put a Disney park in there. Very ambitious goal. And I think that Tony Baxter and the crew really lived up to that goal. But I will tell you, Drew, and I've said this before over on Disneyland For Designers, what Paris missed, which is what Disneyland has, is that culture, right? That culture of now generations have taken their children to Disneyland. The way that Disneyland is woven into the fabric of Southern California, I didn't get that until I moved here. I've been seeing a lot of annual pass rage, and I'm not talking annual pass holders that are like, I can't believe my pass is canceled. A lot of people that are like, I'm from out of town, good riddance, AP people, you ruined the park. And I think that's a sad perspective, because what those people don't understand is how Disneyland is very specially settled in to where we all live. So when I went to Disneyland Paris, I thought it was beautiful. The footprint was so nice and spacious. Their Big Thunder Mountain looked like a mirage. It looked like a dream sitting in its own body of water. The Fantasyland had so much extra space and little bonus corridors. The castle is, I think, the best Disney castle. I mean, ours has so much history and nostalgia tethered to it. But as far as just basing them on design, the Paris castle is, I believe, the superior castle. But what it lacked was that culture, that feeling. And so I'll say this, been to Disneyland over 550 something times now, have felt a little bit of magic leak about 550 times now. Paris, one visit, no tears. And I really let my heart guide me on making that decision on just like, I'm here. I'm excited to be here. It's an amazing time hanging out with my best friend who's from England and being with his wife on the edge of them having their first child. Like, this is definitely a moment in time we'll never get back to. But yeah, it's kind of cold and I'm ready to head back into the city. So that's where I've been and my thoughts on that. All right, let me see. Let me cruise through here and find another one to queue up. Here's a good one from my bud Joe Frock. Let me throw Joe over into the big window here. Nope, why does that one keep popping up? Give me just 1 second. I'm just doing these all on the fly here. There we go. There's Joe's. Can I make it bigger this way? Yeah, that'll work. I can just do it that way. Okay, Joe says, do you think that they will do a Star Wars themed dining experience with the new retail building? Now, Joe, that gets into a really interesting area. And I want to make sure that I'm not misleading folks. When I'm talking about that, I believe that Downtown Disney could become Third Gate light. Now, of course, you guys know that I don't even pretend to think that they would build an attraction outside of the park. I think what they're going to do is this. And I was talking about this with somebody else who left a really cool comment on one of my videos. And I appreciate everybody who's watched this week. The channel's got off to a very slow start this year. The numbers have been very depressing, but I forge on in a time when nobody seems to care about Disneyland. What I believe they're going to do with Downtown Disney is this. Everybody knows the bar that is inside the parks. And I'm not talking about Oga's Cantina. I mean the bar that has been set, the status quo of what we all expect for anything inside of Disneyland, whether it's a store, whether it's a restaurant, or whether it's an attraction or a show. So we all know that the standard that is the Disneyland standard. Now we also know where Downtown Disney lies. It is very, very subpar, that standard. And with good reason. You got to give people an encouragement to spend now $150 to go inside of the park for the day or to buy an annual pass. So everything outside of the park is Disney-ish, but it's not what it is inside the park. So I think, Joe, what they might do if they were to do a dining experience inside the Rainforest Cafe, if they were to do a Star Wars cantina or a dining experience, I don't think that it's impossible. But what I think that our expectations to be is, let's say this is always hard. It's like weatherman. If this is the standard of Disney and this is the standard of Downtown Disney, we should expect to be somewhere in the middle, right? Like there is room to make Downtown Disney experiences better than what they are now, but to not cross the threshold, which is inside the park. So if they were to do a restaurant, my expectations would be, it'll be awesome, it'll be amazing, but it wouldn't be at a Oga's Cantina type level, because then they're fighting against themselves. If people feel like they don't need to buy a pass or a ticket, then it defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do. However, where my logic is there's going to be a lot of people for a while that are iced out of the parks, giving people a very solid, it's not the real thing, but it's close. I believe that's the target that they're going to try to hit. So I do think a restaurant or a bar could be possible because the infrastructure is there, the space is there, definitely the fan desire is there, but let's just get our expectations on, be happy with what it is and not do a lot of complaining of like, it's no Oga's Cantina. Well, of course not. Oga's Cantina is inside the promised land. You know, this is a very, very different thing, but excellent question, Joe. I appreciate that. Let me see here. Andrew. Okay. Andrew's asking a content question, which I always enjoy those. Can I just blast his, I figured out I can do this, right? Why is that one? All right. Let me just load this up. I got to figure out a faster way to do this. Andrew says, question, what's different between 2020 and 2021? Your content for AID Disneyland has taken what I feel is another level in the last few weeks. So my content strategy for this new year is this. Disneyland is not on the radar. Like, we're not even talking about when the park reopens anymore. I feel that a lot of the popular vlogging, podcast, YouTube community has kind of deserted the parks. They're moving on to other things to keep the clicks going, because if you look at the search queries for Disney content, it's way, way, way down. So what I'm trying to do as the smallest creator in the space, but a fortunate creator because it is my full-time job with the success of my podcast, Adventures in Design, the AID network, is I'm trying to really come in and keep the torch alive. I'm trying to tell the story when there's not a new story to tell. Like, this is the hardest time in the history of the Disney parks to tell the story, because people are depressed, people are fatigued, and there's not that new drop of like, hey, I want to stand next to the new sandwich and get 10,000 clicks. So my objective is with the podcast is I'm now doing it a little bit differently, where the first part of the podcast is me doing the book report of that episode. In the past, I had all my notes in front of me, but when you're having an organic conversation with one of my amazing guests, sometimes you can just sort of get off the beaten path of those notes, and it's hard to get over there. So with the Tomorrowland episode and this past week's episode, the 50th episode of Disneyland For Designers, Sleeping Beauty's Castle, I've really tried to make the first opening that I do solo be not necessarily the fun facts and all the hidden secrets of Tomorrowland or Sleeping Beauty's Castle, because I've come to realize that many of you are insanely smart. You love this topic so much of Disneyland, and you already know all the little fun facts. So I've been trying to now go into an even different space than a lot of other creators, and a different space for myself. And I'm trying to actually take it upon myself to tell the emotional story of Disneyland. So to talk about Tomorrowland in a way of, once it was the most best design land in all of Disneyland, but that time has passed. And I asked, do we really need to keep trying to predict the future? Because we live in a moment where we're on the razor's edge of technology. And then with this past week, Sleeping Beauty's Castle, like, I tried to do the impossible. I tried to use words to explain how that structure feels to us. It's the most emotional structure in all of the park. What it symbolizes is so much larger than Disneyland or the corporation or Walt Disney. And so, yeah, I am taking a little bit of a content shift, but then over on the YouTube channel, I'm trying to come up with a rhythm of, a live stream from the park every Tuesday, a weekly park update. And even though there's not a lot of news right now, what I would like for you to take away from my efforts is I'm creating a template. I'm creating a format. So when the world gets crazier and the world gets busier, I can make this content happen super fast, so that when you are ready to hear one of these news videos where I can give you all the news, that I've got that down to an efficient release. When something happens out at the park, I can film it, edit it, and get it back to you in a fast time. Like right now, I'm trying to make a relationship with my audience, that I am a trusted, level-headed Disneyland reporter, and I'm also getting down my creative workflow efficiencies, so that when things start buzzing, I've already put in my 10,000 hours and I'm ready to go there and do that for you. And I also, and this is sincere, I hope that when the park pops and all the other folks come back, I hope you will remember the channels that kept the torch alive when there wasn't a lot to keep alive. All right, let me see what else here. A quick question that I don't need to put on the screen. Favorite bench outside of Main Street? I go in spells with where I like to sit in the park. I'll give you a couple of my favorite ones. I love to lurk on the Hungry Bear patio, looking over the trail there below. I love to sit on the planters or the picnic tables right out of Docking Bay 7 in between the antiquities shop there. I also really enjoy sitting in Fantasia Gardens, which is the old motorboat dock. I like sitting there, but I was really enjoying, right when the park closed, the way that they put in the Tropical Hideaway. There's now a very quiet, chill spot on the side deck, the side porch of the Enchanted Tiki Room. And I love chilling there because you get this awesome view. Adventureland is very narrow, but it has that sort of flickering light vibe that Disney does so well. So you can sit on that little area and you can just kind of watch the traffic come at you. Right now, my current favorite bench is I go to the park, I film everything that I need to film for the channel, and then I end up as far as you can get into DCA, which is, the rope off area of Hollywood Boulevard there in Hollywood land. And there's like that last bench normally next to a security guard. And I normally sit there, talk to the security guard for a little bit because I feel bad for them because they have nothing to do other than tell people, keep your mask on during your photos, and newsflash, your nose is part of your face. And so I will talk to the security guard for a little bit so they know that I'm not a weirdo or a threat. And then I'll just sit on that bench until it's time to turn the camera on and do the live stream or go find a location to go live from. So those are my favorite benches. So yes, I have a detailed answer for anything that you may ask me. Let me see here. What else can I get from? So real quickly, Scott says, I'd love to see the new growth of the western end of downtown Disney. Have you heard or seen any rumors of the AMC or ESPN zone? No, I haven't heard anything about those buildings actually getting turned into anything. And I think that we probably won't hear anything about that until, and then there's that one again. I don't think that we'll hear anything about that until we actually see the Star Wars transformation happen. I feel like everything that Disney's doing right now is test and wait. So I feel like ESPN Zone and AMC, they're really nice pieces of property. And if you look at them from above, and maybe it's time to do a video to break down how much real estate is there. Each of them are adjacent to parking lots. And these parking lots, they're not worth that much as parking goes. Yeah, their proximity is really close, but spots per lot is a pretty low equation. And what that real estate is like if they were to make downtown Disney a upside down T, or a T shape, I guess, if you're looking at it from the east. What if it were to flank out like the old hotel was? So if you look at the AMC, there's enough room in there to not just make like a straight back road, but actually do like a horseshoe shaped village where there could be lots of little different experiential things to do. And then the same thing with the footprint behind the ESPN zone, that parking lot sitting over there. So Scott, I think where we're at right now is let's study and get excited that we have something new to track, which is the Rainforest Cafe transformation. Let's see how that goes off. And let's hope that Disney, feels confident that they can do something else. But I think the big takeaway, and sorry if I sound like a broken record, is the fact that they are going into the Rainforest Cafe, even though it's not going to be like a major overhaul, they are getting Imagineers involved. There is some theming that's going on. It does mean that everything in the footprint of the old hotel for the first time is back into play. And to me, that is the huge win, Scott, that land seemed like a no man's land that they literally had just bookmarked for better days. Well, it seems like that bookmark is getting called upon on a worse day where they try to, need to better up downtown Disney, offer more experiences, because the fact that they're able to live right now off of retail only and what they have to offer, it's pretty crazy dynamic. So thank you so much for that question. All right, let's see here. My man Raymond, who I was fortunate enough to meet when I was out filming one of these crazy videos. Oh, if you just click on it, it updates. Bam. Now we're getting somewhere. Raymond says, break Disneyland into convenient but not rigid 10-year increments. 55 to 65, 65 to 70. Any quick thoughts on 2020 to 2030? Will it be the flavor of the day at the expense of forgetting its roots? Wow, what a great question. And actually, Raymond, are you reading my mind? Because I was seriously thinking about when I was trying to sleep last night because my dogs were just being such pains in the butt. For those of you that have gone beyond dog and gone into kid, you are much tougher than me. I don't know how you do it. But the idea that I was thinking about, Raymond, which you're exactly hitting upon, is maybe doing an intellectual sort of map out of where do you see, following all trends, where do we see 21 going? What does 22 look like? Now, industry insiders, the people that loan Disney their money and evaluate their stock price, they believe 2025 is the year where the park comes back with bigger numbers than 2019. And we all know 2019 was literally the end of this renaissance that the park was having, that I believe was fueled by social media and the decay of traditional retail. I'll explain real quick. Social media has created this FOMO society, and there is nothing that generates more FOMO than putting up a pic, showing yourself at Disneyland, defined as the happiest place on earth, but also this escapism from the real world. So whenever people can put up a photo or a post or a YouTube video or a TikTok from Disneyland, it just says to everybody, I'm living my best life, which is exactly kind of where culture was going in 2019 before this cold, rude awakening. Now, the deterioration of standard retail, the malls are dying, shopping is dying due to online. You know, everybody's like, Walmart's coming to town and it's ruined middle of America. Well, what Amazon's doing makes Walmart look like chump change. And so you have this moment where people don't shop like they used to. The mall is decaying and dying. And theme parks represent a new experiential way to go out and to live your life, to do some sort of entertainment, recreation, a way to spend your money, a way to have fun, a way to enjoy things with your friends. I know they've been there forever, but you cannot deny that if you look at the growth of theme parks with the growth of social media and also the decay of retail, that's a pretty strong argument that those two things are growing in one direction while the third is dying. So to get to your point, 2020 to 2030, I believe that 2020 to 2024, 25 will all be reactionary for survival. And then I think that that next 5 years in this decade, when the money is flowing again, everything that is planned and built will be based on that new template of everything that we're learning right now. So will attractions still have pre-shows? You know, will we still like go into a room and hang out with Hondo before we get on the Falcon? Like how they flow people through the park, what we think about capacity. I know, Raymond, you're from the medical world. You understand how this is going to change everything, you know, from a safety and public health concerns for a very, very long time. I mean, this is way more severe than 9/11, and now we all have to take off our shoes. So I believe that the first half of the decade will be the learning process, and then the second half will be taking those hard lessons and putting them into play. I do believe, though, that with the amount of technology we have, with where people are going and how these years of hardcore defined sadness will manifest into people wanting to get back to living their best life, I do believe there will be a major, major boom on the backside of this decade. And I think we will see some really phenomenal stuff start to mature around 2028, 29. So it might actually take 2029 to get back to 2019, where we're seeing a year that is laid out with new lands, new marquee attractions. And I think all of this stuff will be based on the architecture of what we've learned over the last couple of years. Just all a big guess, all just a big guess. Who knows? All right, let me see here. Let me grab another one. Going to take this one from my bud, Jeff Pike. Can I just go down? Boom. Look at that. Figuring out a new system, kids. Jeff Pike says, I am curious on entertainment in the park will return. It's such a big part of our experience, and I'm thinking it could be a couple of years till we get back to the level entertainment pre-COVID. So I have an interesting theory about entertainment in the park. So much of Disneyland, because of its tight corridors, was designed to be a vertical display. Like whenever you go into a store, always look up. Whenever you're walking through a land, always look up, because they know there's going to be a sea of bodies on the ground level. So it's really the second and third floor's duty to do the storytelling, the theming where we're at. Now, the benefit of this is that we have lots of areas that are accessible to cast members, but not the gin pop. So Jeff, I think that we will see entertainment be much more flash mob, you know, like little installments, little conversations between characters, little special things that 30, 50 people, 100 people see while they're in the corridor of Adventureland. Or let's start using those bridges and balconies that are all around the galaxy's edge. Marvel's Avengers Campus is designed for a lot of the superhero story to happen up on those higher tiers. I mean, the flying Spider-Man is a sign of the times, so that when everybody needs to get that pick, everybody needs to get that crucial content, the best way to make it accessible to all is to put it up on a higher sight line. So I think that we'll see a lot of that. Now, what your concern is, and I understand your concern, what about the Phantasmics? What about the fireworks? What about beautiful parades like Paint the Night or Magic Happens? That is going to be a very interesting problem for Disney to figure out, because we need to be in a very highly vaccinated, well-adjusted society to where we can earn those privileges back. I just can't see them being away forever. I really can't. I do agree with you, though, that it will be a few years before we get there. But dare I say, as magical as these parades are, and when you come in from out of town, if you can see, Magic Happens, like, wow, that was amazing, we got to see it. For the locals and the hardcore, Mickey's Soundsational was the same thing for a decade plus. These smaller, more intimate performances might give us a way to see things that are rare, that are moments in time, versus a scripted, well-manicured performance, such as something like Phantasmic that I absolutely adore. But going back to Raymond's question, I think that we will find a way as a society to reconstruct what some of these things can look like in a way where we can adjust attendance, we can adjust the speed of things, or we can adjust the vantage point of how many people can see them. I definitely believe that drone technology is in its way to be in the park. So just like we've learned to use the second floor to tell the story, it'll be interesting to see how we use everything above the buildings and in the skyline so that more people can tell the story. Is there a way where as we resculpt Tomorrowland and Adventureland and these various areas, they've done a lot in the last couple of years to allow you to see now the fireworks displays from the Rivers of America, from Main Street, from in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle, from It's a Small World, dispersing everybody's needs to see it in a different spot versus everybody has to be in front of the castle. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting transformation, but I think that if there's anybody that can figure this out, it's that creative team. Okay, let's see here. The 1313 Club still exists. I designed the logo. Wow, go figure. I'm just doing my own bootleg club. If it's a real thing, I didn't know that. Let's see here. Looking around Federal, sorry, these kind of jump around when I'm looking at this. Let me find a new one here, and I'm going to take a drink while I'm doing that. See a lot of you responding to things that we've talked about today. And I feel like I've lost a spot here. Yeah, Lauren says Walt Disney World just announced. I'm going to put this up here because Lauren is reading my mind. Lauren says Walt Disney World just announced that their Festival of the Lion King show is back in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see how they modify shows. I think really the thing that we can all do as big lovers of Disneyland is become students of Disney World, because in many ways they're showing us our future. But where you got to be cautious is the amount of space that they have. The flexibility of the footprint of Walt Disney World can give us some very misleading cues on what to expect here, because my favorite fun fact about comparing the two parks, even though we have more attractions in our Magic Kingdom, their monorail track runs 25 miles long. Our monorail track runs 2.5 miles long, give or take. So you really see this difference of size. So yeah, there is a lot that we can learn from looking at our brothers and sisters out on the East Coast, but also a lot that we have to be ready to adjust just because they are so different. The Variety Show says in 2008, they used to have an Indiana Jones running around looking for an artifact and fighting bad guys. More things like that would be cool in 2021. Variety Show, that is exactly the type of thing that I was thinking about when I was giving my answer, because I remember, what was that guy called? It was the something thief that Indy would fight around on the balconies of Adventureland. And when I saw that, I'm like, man, it's too bad they don't do stuff like that anymore. So I think that we'll be able to see a lot more like very focused storytelling for that land. And that will be fun, but it will be nice to get back to the big emotional moments like Fantasmic or Disneyland Forever, which was my favorite fireworks display. I love that so much. Let me hit this up. Federalist 45, one of my homies, has a question here. And guys, thank you so much for all your questions and for helping me out on a busy content day. I'm glad we're able to get together and do this and have this conversation. I hope that you enjoy that the live streams really stay on focus and give you some value to what we're doing here. Federalist says, without spoilers, do you think the trackless rides will stand the test of time? Indiana Jones / Splash Mountain have set a high benchmark for lasting, but they have physical excitement. Okay. So trackless rides are awesome. And the way where, no spoilers, my party and your party can board at the exact same time. But because we're now trackless, I can go on storyline A and you can go on storyline B, and maybe the people behind us can experience storyline C. So they're really cool in the fact that they're trackless. You're free. You're free to roam around and see a different version of a story. Also, when we look at attractions overseas, it gives the ability for everybody to kind of come into one room and to see one magical moment and then disperse in a way that they've never been able to do before. But trackless will not be the 100% wave of the future, because it is also limited to the only movement you're going to get is the base of your cart. Now, Indiana Jones is special because it's the 1-2 punch. You have the track that you're riding on, which can give you all kinds of G-force and bumps and turn you around. But then the car is also a moving platform and stage. So even though you're going up and down, the car can rock you left to right, which gives you all kinds of sensory overload that makes you feel like, watch out for that boulder. It's going to smash you. I believe it'll depend on the footprint of the attraction. It'll depend on the story that they're trying to tell and the budget. We will still have hard-carded attractions. We will still have these trackless ones, but I think each one serves a purpose for the exact type of story that Imagineering is trying to tell. I don't see it going one way or the other, and that is the fun part of going to Disneyland. When you take somebody new there, you can be like, oh, this one's an omni mover, or this one's a floating boat ride, or this one's more like a traditional roller coaster. So I think that it'll just really depend on how they want to tell the story, and does that story need a lot of moving pieces and flexibility, or is it a quick story that's all about the thrill? But yeah, that's a good question. I know that if it were to go that way, it could be that way. It could be confusing the whole time. All right, let's see if anything new has popped in here. Okay, let me see what Liz Ace 28 is saying here. Do you think Disney will open Main Street for shopping? And if they did, do you think they would charge? And how much do you think they would charge? So Liz, this is just based on my own instincts. I don't think, I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. But to give you my most honest opinion, I don't see them opening Disneyland during the pandemic. We are months away from the vaccines really, really rolling. I watch all these press conferences to try to stay up to date on information. Dr. Fauci said yesterday that he believes that sometime this summer and early fall, we could be at 70 million Americans vaccinated, which would mean if this summer we got to 70 million Americans vaccinated, that somewhere in this fall, we would start to see life return to what felt like normal. If Disney has weathered the storm this long on keeping Disneyland proper closed, I don't see them opening it up for shopping. Buena Vista Street brought in a lot of people in the beginning. It fell off each and every week afterwards. It fell off severely when food and beverage was removed. And I just have this gut feeling that because Disneyland is the icon, it is the classic, it is Walt's Park, it's this magical thing that the company really reveres. There's so much more they could do with DCA. Like, they've only scratched the surface on what they can do for DCA. And in many ways, at its 20th anniversary next month, this is DCA's time to shine. This is DCA now creating its own history, separate of Disneyland. And I believe a lot of us are going to have a new affection towards what's always been revered as like, well, it's the second best park. And it will always be the second best park. But right now, it's the park that's nearest and dearest to our hearts. So I feel like this is a real moment for DCA to begin to pull away from its big brother and find its own footing and tell its own story. There's so much more left inside of DCA that we could explore, that we could be offered. And if they are 6 months away from opening, I just don't see them opening the gates of Disneyland, because what you're right about, Liz, is you have to charge for people to go into Disneyland. You cannot make walking inside the gates of Disneyland free. So then what does that look like? How does that media rollout work? And also Disneyland, it's not built for these times. It's built for 1955. Main Street USA is incredibly narrow. You would probably have to take traffic down one way, make people go out of the overflow. I just, Knott's Berry Farm reacted quickly because they could. Because they don't, even though they're the oldest park, they don't have that same nostalgia and legacy that Disney projects as their brand. That Disney's brand is, we're the best. They didn't invent theme parks, but they definitely reinvented our expectations of theme parks. Disneyland is a sacred site. I don't see them opening it. And I also beg them, please don't open it. Let's get back in there as a reward that we weathered this storm. Because so many moments in your life, like, well, it'll be better by Christmas, and it wasn't. It'll be better by my birthday, and it wasn't. It'll be better by 4th of July. It'll be better by New Year's, and it wasn't. So all these milestones that you keep coming up to, they're just disappointing and sad. Don't you want your first time that you go through the tunnel on the right to be a celebration that you and your citizens and your society weathered the storm on a once in a 100-year pandemic? And now you're not going in there because they need to adjust the bottom line. You're going in there because we earned it. So maybe I'm putting too many emotions into my response, but if I was on the board, I would say we got a lot of DCA. We got a lot of downtown. I could even see a way where you could run a food festival up and down the tram path. There's so much space outside of Disneyland that they could do some really memorable stuff with, that I don't think that you need to touch it. Excellent question. I think that's a lot of things that people have been thinking about. Woo. Let me see here. Okay, can I just do that? There we go. My boy Federalist says, do you have any tips for booking a VIP tour? Best time of year, morning or night, party size, etc.? Well, if you're being serious, the VIP tour it's sizable. It's a sizable expense. I would say, let me think about this. Any best time of year, morning or night, party size? Well, the thing is I think you're allowed to have up to 10. It's 8 or 10. I think it's 10 people that you can have on a tour. Obviously, the least amount of people you have that is affordable for you, if you're like divvying it up as couples, would give you a little bit of a faster pace to go through. But I think whether it's, they like to run the tours during the daytime. I think you have to kind of be like celebrity level to book only an evening one. That's just my guess. So I think they try to run them during the day. But here's the thing about a tour guide. It doesn't really matter what else is happening in the park. Because when you're on a VIP tour, you're in your own bubble. You know, you're going to go everywhere at a pace that you've never, ever experienced Disneyland before. This is one of my all-time best visits. But I think the best tip I could give you for a tour, which you haven't asked here, is you need to make sure that you explain to the person that you're booking your tour with, what are your concerns? Do you want an informed tour guide that can teach you history and take you into sacred spaces and explain that to you? Are you doing a tour because you and your family or your friends are thrill seekers and you want to crush as many rides as you can, so you're willing to spend thousands of dollars to go through the park at a faster pace? These tours are curated for your interest level. So I would say that if you were going to get together with a handful of other couples, or your family was going to pile money together, or maybe you just have, you know, the means to just buy it outright, and you know, $5,000 for a day is not a big deal for you. And I don't even know if it's five. I was gifted because it is outside of my financial means. But the best thing that I have learned by being friends of what I think is an amazing VIP tour guide, one of the best in the industry, one of the leaders in this great ritual at Disneyland, is you need to inform them what your interest level is, what kind of expectations you have for a tour guide. So it is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And Federalists, I've been asking your questions on live streams now from this summer on. You, my friend, are a squeaky wheel, and you will know how to get that grease. So if you're going to go for one of these, just be you, baby, and you will get the absolute best tour possible. And I mean that with all love and admiration, because I love your questions. Let's see here. I'm just kind of jumping around to see. Oh, I got a thank you sticker. Love that. Love that. Let me pop that over here. Yeah, look at my thank you sticker. I appreciate that super chat. First one today. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Woo. Yeah, woo woo. All right, let me see here. Let me I love how you guys already talk amongst yourselves about the questions that are on. It's so cool to see the actual community here. Let me see. Veronica says, didn't know you could make the request, make it more personal. Good to know. Yeah, that's kind of the thing that a lot of people don't know about. So they just buy the tour just thinking that it is what it is, but it is actually, it's up to you. And you can really call the shots. That curation, I believe in my heart, would be what I would be paying for more than the access. So they will give you somebody that adjusts. Let me see what I can find here to ask. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. When I say guys, I mean that non-gender. It's just something I've said my entire life. Thank you, friends, for hanging out with me today on your Friday. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're having a good time, and just asking the questions today is fun. What is that exactly included? Walt's apartment. So if you wanted that type of tour, I would suggest like book a tour and be like, hey, our family is way more about history than new rides. This is something that means a lot to us. So could you please see that we get somebody that does history, and could maybe we get access to something like Walt's apartment? I can't say for certain that they would honor that and give that to you. But I do know that it's within the realm of possibilities. Give me a second to throw away some of these screenshots here to conserve some space on my desktop. I saw somebody ask, Emily, all tours are good for disabled access. Disneyland is very accessible. I've been in a wheelchair for years. Katie Baker, are you the woman that shuts down Disneyland every night? Are you the woman with the headphones on that's there every night? Please tell me that that's you. I mean, don't if it's not you, but if that's you, you're like a Disneyland celebrity to me. How much would you pay to walk down Main Street? Oh, Disneyland, Disney Adventure Vlogs trying to get me to pontificate on the new fresh bake video. I love it. I love it. All right. You want to talk? Oh, that's not you, Katie. There is a woman who is in a wheelchair who shuts down Disneyland every single night. And I believe her name might be Katie. So sorry for getting you confused. She's an absolute legend in my mind. And you can't really talk to her, but I would love to. Disney Adventure Vlogs. How much would you pay to walk down Main Street? Okay. Real talk. I don't want to walk down Main Street right now. I want them to keep it closed. I already expressed those feelings. If they did do it, what's the price I'd be willing to pay? I do $100 not thinking about it. I do $200 not thinking about it. Probably the tipping point for me and my finances where I'd be like, oh, I don't know. $4.99. Anything over $500, I'd really have to pump the brakes and think about it. But if they did a walking tour of Disneyland or a way to go inside that was sub $500, yeah, I'd pay that. And not that I'm wealthy, but I have $1,400 sitting here that I want to give Disneyland for my AP. So what do you got for me, guys? Yeah, it's not a humble brag. Get out of here. You're the one who decided to have kids. Let me see here. Yep, Katie Baker, we're talking about the exact same Legend of Disneyland. Okay, here we go. Here's a question from Kingston. I like that you guys are putting question in there. That helps my low reading ability to skim. So that's, oh, what is that? What happened? I think it maybe jumped while I was trying to do the screenshot. There we go. Kingston, question. Even though we now know Rainforest Cafe is going to be Star Wars Trading Post, what would you have done with the space? I personally wanted something more activity experience based. Oh man, that's a great question. I'm pretty cool with the Star Wars experience. Like I'm actually really happy with that because I understand the need for them to move Batuu merchandise while people can't get to Batuu because their pre-orders must have been insane. As far as experience goes, right now is a really, really hard time to do anything experiential because of the current state of where we're living, you know, the affair, like the way that public health concerns are right now. So if it were anything else, Kingston, it would be shut down. You know, if it were anything other than a store, it would be a no-fly zone. So I believe, looking into the logical crystal ball, the store will be an experiment on making experiential. I just did a video that I dropped yesterday looking at the Lego store, which nobody watched. And the Lego store video was me looking at, hey, Lego store is one of the original tenants. Lego store's been there for 20 years. And it does a really great job of being at the crossroads of commerce and retail and entertainment and experience. Can Disney start doing that more curated experience in that western end of downtown Disney? So I understand, Kingston, you would like something more interactive. I completely agree with you. However, I think that will have to come in time. So the store will be a great learning lesson of, okay, we did this during the pandemic, the pause-demic. Now that we've got a lot of people iced out because of passes, what can we do with ESPN? What can we do with the massive footprint of the old AMC? What kind of experiential things can we provide for people now that we're open to using this set of land and that we know that it works and there's a demand for it? So I agree with what you're hoping for. I just think, buddy, a little bit of patience and time. I think what you're looking for, California and Disneyland just can't handle at this particular moment. But great question. All right, let's see here. Dusty Ray with a super chat. You and Fresh Bake are two Disney influencers. Hands down, saw you on Wednesday night. Drove Lambo there with my 4 boys. Corona life. If you saw me there on the Wednesday night, then why didn't you say hi, Dusty Ray? If you guys see me at the resort, always make sure you say hi to me. People are like, oh, I saw you all the time. I didn't want to interrupt. You're not interrupting. You're my friends. Don't know what else to say to that, Dusty Ray, other than thank you so much for the super chat. And if you drove the Lambo there, then hey, super chat seems a little light. I'm joking. Thank you so much, bud. Make sure next time, Dusty, you come up to me and say hey. Let's see here. My friend Rob Anderson drops the 1313. Gracias. If Disney were to hire you for consulting, what would you work on first? No COVID protocol answers. What would I work on first if I was doing consulting for Disneyland? I mean, I don't know. I think really I would want to work with them on the new annual pass program. I would want to work with them on a way to keep people going. I would want to focus on a way to service people that are going to feel left behind. So I think right now the biggest obstacle is the future of the AP program and what that looks like. So I would love to have influence on that. I also would love to be a part of the planning of what's next in the western edge of downtown Disney, because I think that I have pretty good ideas on how that can be a good bridge to sort of help the resort get through the next decade of this transformational decade that we're going to be going on. But if I'm really being honest, I would love to consult on where the benches go. Let me pick the home of the benches, and I will be, well, one happy benchmark. Dusty says, because I had a 2-year-old and was leaving. Okay, 2-year-old that's done. Dusty, I say no more, caller. Say no more. Let's see here. Albert is saying something that I've heard some other people say too. Dusty, you jerk. You make me feel horrible. I'll get to you in a minute, you maniac. Albert says, I wish Rocket from the Crypt. Is that what you're talking about? The punk band Rocket from the Crypt? Absolutely love RFC. He says, I wish Rainforest Cafe would come back, but that will not happen. ESPN Zone should come back, but that's not going to happen. If Star Wars Galaxy Edge store opens, I hope it's a restaurant experience. Albert, it will be a store. It will probably be a small store, but it will be a learning experience towards the future. I've actually seen a lot of people say that they were hoping that Rainforest Cafe would come back. That's a no-fly zone for me. I hate seeing animals in any other state than in the wild. So if I'm eating and there's like a giant fish tank across from me, I'm just depressed the entire time. Like, you know why? Because I watched all these stupid Disney movies when I was a kid, and now I've attached all these emotions to all these animals, and I think it broke me for the rest of my life. I really think that it did. All right. Look at this guy. He said he drove a Lambo, and I said that your $4.99 chat was too small, being funny guy, and he hits me with a $49.99. You should be an ambassador. Disney influencers, by the way, only didn't say hi because 2-year-old was ready to go. Yeah, we already addressed 2-year-olds ready to go. You go and go fast, and everybody thanks you. I would love to be an ambassador for Disney, but it would never happen. I'm too rough around the edges. But I love this. I love being the guy that nobody would think that loves the park the way that I do. Like, it's my origins from being like in the punk scene and working at a record label and being in a band and being like a poster artist. Like, I'm not the guy that's supposed to love it this much. And I love being an outsider on this mainstream content. Dusty, you're insane. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You obviously have a great sense of humor. Oh, let me see what my bud Raymond is saying again. Dr. Raymond, paging Dr. Raymond. Besides balconies, it seems there are nearly infinite architecture features to elaborate on, even the lowly pavement. Is that on your content radar? Oh, Raymond, buddy, I have a couple of different DCA videos that are so hyper into details that they're absolutely insane. And probably fewer people will watch them than watch my balcony video, which was a huge disaster. So what I'm trying to do right now with my content strategy, because I am the smallest Disneyland channel that posts regularly, I'm trying to hit a balance of each month. I try to sneak out a couple of videos. That's the type of content I want to do when I'm bigger, when I can justify the time. So the balcony video was the December chance of like, am I big enough yet? And the answer is no, I'm not. No, I got a lot of growing to do. But if you've ever gone back into my archives and watched my video, Disneyland Rocks, or Animated, the Future of Disney Animatronics, that gives you a very strong idea of where I originally wanted this channel to go. But that amount of work, when you're a nobody, is an insane amount of work. And if it doesn't generate the results, then you're never, ever going to grow. And I do need to grow and make some money here, or I will have to grow away from all of this. So right now I'm trying to do a balancing act of easy, fast, SEO friendly videos so that I can catch a wave of new subscribers. And whenever I have the comfort zone, I'll slide in one of those future of the channel videos where I want this to be a space where it really does embark on the design, the imagination, and the magic of Disney. It's just, you have to have a certain amount of like baseline of subs to watch the type of stuff that nobody really, to watch the type of stuff that, that nobody's really asking for. Now, when you make it, people enjoy it, but if people aren't asking for it, then it's a tree falling in the woods. So I got to walk that tightrope. Rob Anderson hitting me up with another super chat today. Rob, you've always been such a great supporter of my content. COT, can someone get me a quick Photoshop job of Brickey and Bernie on the Disneyland bench? For those of you who don't know, COT stands for Circle of Trust, which is my subscriber platform for my podcast that has over 1,300 episodes that I have produced, interviewing all kinds of amazing creatives of all walks of life. And what I'm going to be doing later this year with 1313 is going to be like the COT, but for my Disneyland community. And this show that we're doing right now, eventually some of you will pop up on that video screen and do this weekly show with me and ask me questions or co-host on a topic that I feel that you're a good fit for. And 1313 members will every Friday get a podcast version of this conversation. So what we're doing here right now is just sort of kicking the tires on future channel growth. And I'm always up to no good. I'm always trying to make something here. Albert, this looks interesting. I haven't read the whole thing, but it looks good. Hey, Rob, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you, Dusty. Thank you for everybody for super chatting. I really appreciate it, man. Like, I'm grinding as hard and as fast as I can to build this channel and to build this community on the time and the budget that I have available. Albert says, 65-year-old kid that loves Disneyland. Yeah, man, you're my hero. I hope to be you for many years. When my brother and family went in 61, saw Uncle Walt. Oh my gosh. What? Take me in a time machine. When I retire, I'm looking to retire and get a job there. Albert, I'm going to put you down on my resume when I apply to get a job there, because my retirement goal is I just want to be a janitor at Disneyland. I just want to sweep trash and have somebody be like, excuse me, sir, how do we get to the galaxy's edge? And I want to say, well, first thing you need to do, ma'am, is you need to be open to imagination and magic. But the next thing you need to do is you need to follow Adventureland until you feel like you can go no more and veer over to the right. And when the trees start talking to you after you went through the tunnel that sounds like you've gone into heaven, then you know you're there. Like, I just can't wait to be the sage, old, wise guy sweeping trash. But first I got to get older, and I also got to get sager, and I also got to get wiser. All right, I think we have come to the end of our Sweep Spot podcast. Yeah, buddy. See, Sweep Spot podcast is like, you meet these weirdos in LA that are like 30 and they've already retired. That was Sweep Spot. He's already done my retirement job. They've already done the janitor job, and they're probably like, this moron is romanticizing it way more than what it is. Wait till you have to clean up puke, Brickey, behind King Arthur's carousel. You'll change your song and your dance. Okay, last question here. Which will be your first and second ride in the park? Okay, first ride in the park. What will be the first thing that I want to do? Oh, I know. First and second ride I want to do in the park. I want to do I don't even think it matters the order. I'll let the amount of traffic, and Amanda Moran, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I'll let the day take me. But that first day I go to Disneyland, you better bet your bottom that I'm going to do a lap on the Disneyland Railroad, and I'm also going to do a lap around Rivers of America and Mark Twain, one of my top 5 attractions. I grew up on the banks of the Ohio River. As a kid, I heard the steamships going up and down the river. This makes me sound like I'm from Mark Twain times, but it's something that still happens. And I will be for sure doing those 2 attractions because I love them so much. And in DCA, I want to ride this guy, Weatherman Point. I want to ride the Fun Wheel, not the swinging carts. I'm going to ride the swinging carts one day if my channel is ever big enough and people care about me and I could like raise money for charity. There's a couple of things I have on a list to do for charity. And one of those things is to ride the swinging gondolas for charity because man, oh man, I would hate that so much, but you would love my misery. So one of these days, when there's a worthy cause, I will ride the swinging gondolas to try to raise money, which is funny because some people just do it because it's Tuesday. Dusty says, Dusty, you don't have to keep super chatting, but I do appreciate it, sir. All right, let me see here. Dusty says, do you see Main Street Retail or Avengers Campus DC Retail opening next? Sorry, horrible read there. I think there's a greater chance of the web store opening than Main Street. I could see them opening up web because it's flanked on the edge of Avengers Campus. Almost like if you've ever lived in a big city like New York City or, I lived in Toronto, Canada for years. No, I'm not Canadian. And they build this like building that says affordable condos coming soon. And then eventually that gets taken away. I could see Webb being the welcome center for Avengers Campus. I could also see them doing a cool like design pattern, like looking for recruits coming November 21. I could see Webb opening as part of DCA way sooner than I see Main Street opening. That's just my guess. The longer they remain closed, the more that becomes a possibility. Hey, look at there. Philander jumping into the mix. My homie Philander, one of the greatest friendships I've made out of Disneyland. And I love that Philander and I do illustrate that Disneyland is a thriving, real community where people go there and their mutual love of Disneyland does create friendships outside of the park. 2020, the greatest thing that happened to me, 2019, the greatest thing that happened to me was I finally found my Disneyland community. I found a fellow bunch of other professionals, same age bracket as I'm in, all doing something at a high level of professionalism, all have that sort of level-headed approach. We all became friends, and our friendship wraps around that we love getting together and taking a lap around Disneyland. Dusty Ray says it's deserved. Half these Disney guys are clickbait. You rock. We need to fund the positive and true energy to put in. I sincerely appreciate that. I'm working very, very hard to build what I hope to be a very good Disneyland YouTube channel, Disneyland content only, and we will get there. 5 of my employees crowd around me watching now too. Well, hey, if Dusty's not working, then why should you have to? All right, I'm going to leave it there right now. And thank you guys so much for showing up and having all this fun with me. Thank you so much for the super chats. I sincerely appreciate it. And friends, I will see you back on the channel with more videos, but I'll also see you here next Friday when we do this all over again. And if you just could do me a solid, like just maybe share my channel or my podcast with a friend. I can only build this if you help me. I can not do it alone. And I would really, really appreciate that. All right, everybody, I will see you real soon. And thank you so much. Oh, Scott, just throwing a super chat in right at the end. Thank you so much. Anna B, thank you so much. Liz, thank you so much. JT, yeah, hit that thumbs up. And if you see this posted later, maybe leave a comment. I would appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Philander, I'll be bothering you on the text message very soon. Everybody, have a great weekend. Until the next time that I can see you in the web store or in the Star Wars store in West Side of Downtown Disney, or I can see you on Main Street USA, I'll see you back here on the channel with more Disneyland News. Goodbye.